morning here. We're back here in Northeastern Pennsylvania with another episode of Sanity Check, and we're just going to try and get some information out as quick as possible. And what's the new topic today, Lou?
Well, once again, Michael, let's give people a little bit of a background on who we were and what we've done in the past. Sanity Check, Independent Gazette, did it for years and years, 5 years on 94.3 FM, the talkie here up in Northeast Pennsylvania. And we're back. We feel like this is the year. This is the upcoming year. We have election cycles. Everybody's going to be ginned up. They're going to be talking about certain issues.
Yes.
The one thing that we have gotten frustrated with over the years, Michael, is we were all part of the Kids for Cash, the Custody for Cash, cameras in courtrooms. That's one of our big issues. But you know as well as I do, we did the baloney gate, we leg towing, all kinds of things. We could bring out a lot of different issues, but does anything ever change? And so what we're doing, folks, here with Sanity Check, the Independent Gazette, independentgazette.org, and Sanity Check, now streaming on a number of different platforms. What we're doing is we're going to focus on three issues, Michael. We just did one of our initiatives is on the immigration issue. And we just did a show on that, and we encourage folks to check that out on immigration and what we're trying to do with that. Another leg of the stool, as we say, is cameras in courtrooms, which is what we'll talk about, you and me, now. And then the third is free and equal elections. Those are our three initiatives that we are concentrating on here with the Gazette and Independent News and Sanity Check, only because we do think as though that we could have a real impact and maybe have some real change. So Kids for Cash, precedent right here in River City, right here in Scranton, Pennsylvania. A movie for folks that are not familiar with Kids for Cash. You can look that up. There's a movie out on it. This is not conspiracy theory anymore. This is what exactly happened, right? So what we're saying is we do have precedent that the children and individuals alike cannot trust that the courts are doing the right thing when they operate in darkness. So we're talking about cameras in courtrooms, correct?
Yes, we are talking about, one of the things that I've always believed that through education comes change. And that's what we hope to do today, is make you aware of a lot of the things that people aren't aware of. And when Lou's talking about, I had a experience yesterday. I was in a courtroom viewing a case, and the first thing the judge says up on his black robe and sitting up on his tower, there'll be no videos, no cameras, and he reads this big, long, pre-addressed thing of why we can't do this and blah, 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 blah. But as I began to think, Lou, is we have cameras everywhere. Our police officers wear them. Down in Wilkes-Barre, every light has cameras. So when I start to see this, it's hard not to be suspicious. When you're working in the darkness, where nobody could see. So this case has to do with the school board here in Tunkhannock, and that's a whole nother episode.
Of course.
But it's all you don't get to see the real story and how there was the conflict between the person being tried and the judge. And it's our founders set up a system so that we, the people, control the results.
Yes.
It's not that way anymore.
No.
It's the judge sits up there, he whacks down his hammer, and I prefer to call it a hammer, and says, no, it's not going to be that way. And the question was asked many times, what about the Constitution, Your Honor? He said, I'm not getting a fair shake here because we're not following the rules. And he said, this is my courtroom and my rules. What? So this is what people don't see. Why? Because we don't get to video it. If that type of behavior was shown on a regular basis to the public, they would be outraged. And I think it would be a quick change to having a more honest way to go to the courtroom.
Oh my God, Michael, what a great point. You couldn't have said that better. And you experienced this, you've seen it. And we've been saying this all along. And for folks that say, well, we have to protect the innocents and all of this stuff, I brought up a point the other day, and because somebody had mentioned to me, I don't want just cameras and audio in the courtrooms. I want it back in chambers.
Yep.
And somebody said to me, one of our friends said, oh, who are you? I mean, who do you think that you have a right to audio and videotape what they're doing back in chambers? And I retaliated with the fact that we have a president of the United States, all of our presidents,
Yes.
that talk in the back rooms, make decisions that affect all of us, and yet every single one of those conversations are recorded.
Yes.
For a reason.
The most high security position in the entire United States of America, and yet we record it.
Yes. So I want folks to start thinking, and this is what maybe this episode, that's the only thing that we're talking about, because you brought up a fantastic point about, yes, if people actually saw the behavior that is happening in our courtrooms, they would be disgusted.
They would, and Lou, what is so important, and folks, and I've got to see several cases, it's a whole big world of intimidation. It's all this, get up there and defend yourself? How? If you speak out up against it, then, you're in contempt of court. Well,
strike that from the record.
Strike that from the record. Exactly. so in other words, okay, so let's just put in the things they want to hear to make their, to put this person in jail, which, by the way, people don't realize, to me, so much of our system, our judicial system has become a money-making scheme, Lou.
That is true.
You see, I can remember having some, seeing young people having addiction issues in Texas, and they come out of jail for a year, and the first thing they have to do is come up with $1,000 a month to pay their probation. They can't even get a job. They're trying to look for. So you're setting these people up for failure. That's exactly what our courts are doing, setting them up for failure. And when you go in there, you're just a blah, 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 and of course the name calling starts, and there's no discussion that the folks get to have with the people that we're in charge of, Lou. And it's really frustrating to me.
Folks, you just related a story. I can tell you right now, when we were asked with what we have dubbed custody for cash, and I'm going to tell you folks right now, you could shut it off. You can shut your mind off, but it's happening.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, Michael, we were thrown out on courts on a weekly basis just for showing up.
Yep.
And just what you said, there's that intimidation factor, and I'm ready to sneeze.
Yeah. Well, you
take it over.
The story itself is a tearjerker anyway, though. When you see these young parents getting.
Losing their children.
Just because you're poor doesn't make you a bad parent.
No.
And this is where you see it's almost like it's predatory in nature.
It is.
So we're going to find a way. If you want to go up the ladder in the court system, then you're going to have to play ball. We want you to take this kid from this parent. And are there bad parents? Yes.
We all know that. We all know that. And I think that's how this whole thing is played on. So to just lay it out once again, Michael, we're sending letters out, once again, to all our local state representatives and eventually every state representative in Pennsylvania, because that's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to start reining in these courts. And we're going to be asking you very pointed questions of why you have not asked for open hearings here.
Yes.
Because, folks, if you're listening to this broadcast, I'm telling you now, it is horrifying the sheer volume of people that have come to us with their horrific stories. Michael, I didn't believe it. I was never part. It was very, very difficult for me to even get my arms around this, because I came from my dad was a policeman, a lot of a lot of law enforcement. I trusted that. I believed in it.
Sure.
I was never part of the court system. So when people started coming to me and telling me about all these horrific stories, it took me a very long period of time. And for us as a team to finally put out that plea for help, that the cameras in courtrooms, and that's the only way things are going to change. And I guess the point we're trying to make here, folks, is start just thinking about it. Think about what is happening in the courts, because we cannot have justice, Michael.
Right.
If you cannot accept the fact or believe the fact that you are going to be treated justly.
Right.
And I don't care who it is.
I don't.
And we've said this all along, Michael. I don't care who you are. You're going to eat your bologna sandwich differently if you know you're on camera. You're not wiping your hands. You're not doing this.
Right.
And that's all we're asking for is people to start thinking about cameras in courtrooms, and we're going to demand. We're going to demand from our state representatives to answer that question. So let's wrap this little section up.
Yes,
That's the second leg of the three legs that we're working on with the Independent Gazette. Please go to independentgazette.org, Sanity Check, streaming on all different kinds of platforms. And until next time we meet, Michael, you always say it.
God bless all.
God bless everybody. There you go.